We know how much you love talking about player feedback, and we do too. What's up, everybody? This is Let's Talk Customer Feedback, and I'm your host, Natalie. Thanks for listening, and thanks for telling your Player Insights Pro friends about us. This is Season 3, so let's get right into it. The gaming industry expects another booming year in both excitement and sales. But with the launch of many new games comes the realization that the market becomes even more crowded and the bar is raised yet again in all aspects, including games' complexity levels, design, story, and character features. So, can leveraging player feedback help with this? Let's find out with today's special guest. How to utilize the voice of your players to optimize your game and player experience. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Let's Talk Customer Feedback. Today we have the pleasure of hosting Olga Koryakinajoined, Head of Marketing Creative at Mytona. First, let's say hi to Olga. How are you doing today?
Hi, Natalie. That's my first experience on podcast. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Of course, we're super happy to have you here. And before we dive into player insights, we would love to hear about you. Can you tell us how you got into the industry and where you are today?
Yeah, sure. I remember like it was yesterday and 1,000 years ago at the same time. I joined the industry back in 2018, age 31, as a junior creative manager here in Mytona. And during 4 years of hard work and so many changes on digital market, I've become a head of creative here in Mytona as well. And there are so many other things that I need to understand and achieve in the future. So it's really exciting as well.
That's so exciting that you started as there 4 years ago and now you are the head of marketing creative. That's a great opportunity, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
And so thank you for sharing that. And before we start with the questions, we would like to tell you all about a PR stunt that led to a big failure for Ubisoft back in 2014. So usually journalists who work for media outlets that cover games receive codes and press items that are linked to the game, right? In 2014, Ubisoft sent a journalist a safe that began to beep and was posting along with a note telling the journalist to check their voicemail.
Oh.
These all raised red flags at first. The journalist, first of all, didn't use voicemail. Second, it seemed like nobody else had received these packages. And third, it beeped every time someone tried to open it. So that sounds very mysterious. So what happened next? They called the bomb disposal squad and the entire office building was evacuated to find at the end a copy of Watch Dogs, a baseball cap, and some other things. Thankfully, no explosive device was found, but wow, that was not a good PR stunt with Ubisoft.
Oh my.
So, yes. So with that story in mind, we can't wait to hear Olga's insights. So let's start. Can you introduce us a bit to your role in your company? What do you do as the head of marketing creative and what does the company do?
Yeah, sure. I think let's start with introduction of Mytona. So we are developers and publishers of free-to-play mobile games. We have two main titles. First one is the best hidden object game, Sickest Notes, and the second one is the best, of course, cooking time management game named Cooking Diary. This summer, Sickest Notes turned 7 years, and Cooking Diary celebrated already 4 years from its global release. Yeah. And I welcome everyone to give these amazing games a chance. And going back to my creative team, our current goal is to understand and implement how we can efficiently acquire our target audience using ads and store listings. To do so, we are working on formulating our marketing and creative strategies, researching the market, studying our target audience, of course, analyzing creative performance data, communicate with the product team, and so much more.
That is so interesting. That is amazing how you grew into this position at Mytona. And I really would love to see these two games that I can't believe that have been in the market for so long. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And can you tell us how player feedback influences your day-to-day position at Mytona?
Okay, here in Mytona, our first core value is to provide the best possible experience to our players, and we are so much grateful for everyone who took the time to leave feedback. It makes us really so much better and stronger. And going back to day-to-day working with the players' feedback that we have for each project, we have a special channel on Slack where our support team is sharing feedback from players, and we read and take it into account every one of it.
Wow, that's impressive. And do you analyze it also with tools, or do you go into other platforms to check what your gamers are saying about you?
I can share more of analyzing a bit later. Yeah,
Of
because
course.
we have so many sources about where we can get our players' feedback and how we can implement it in our work.
Of course, I would love to hear that. So we can't wait. And as the head of marketing creative, what do you think about the story I told at the beginning about Ubisoft? There were definitely many things that needed to be done better. So what types of campaigns do you create to attract people's attentions to Mytona's games?
Yeah, I said, oh my gosh, I think like 5 times because it sounds really scary. And nowadays, cases like this are really terrifying and not appropriate at all. And talking about the messages that we create through our ads are mostly for performance and branding campaigns. So they are for digital field. I can say that. So we're trying to be as polite as possible in all triggers. Because if you check what is happening on casual mobile games market, I mean on ads market, all that freezing, pregnant, poor things, marketers will understand me what I'm talking about. It's all about the fighting for a precious player's attention.
Right.
And according to numbers, we do understand that these hooks are catching our target audience attention. But I think it's more of on the way of to sympathize with the fictional characters, to try to help them escape from real world problems for a while.
Wow, I really like what you just mentioned, and I agree. I get tons of ads all the time, and I understand the hooks that you mean, and how people will you will get attentions by that. But I agree that sometimes being empathetic may get you further.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit about how Mytona optimizes the published games? How does the company try to pursue and create the ultimate player experience?
Yeah, talking about our titles, I can say that our developer teams are brilliant because Seekers Notes has been a leader in its genre and loved by millions of players. Our main audience are beautiful ladies who love arts and a good story, good mysterious story. They are trying to staying active and sharp-minded, so we try not to disappoint them with our monthly events. And Cooking Diary loved by a younger audience, comparing to Seekers Notes. And comparing to other cooking time management titles, we gave our players an opportunity to express themselves through diverse and deep customization features. Starting from players' appearance to their home and restaurants, they can customize everything, so everyone is unique here in Cooking Diary.
That is impressive. Do you have a really cool story or something about customization in terms of the persona or the restaurant? Like, what do players say about this?
Um, they love to share their appearance in Cooking Diary, and also we have pets, and they can make like paired look with their pets.
That is so cute.
Yeah, and also we have guilds in Cooking Diary. So sometimes in guilds they have some fun tasks. So this week everyone should wear a funny hat or something purple or something like that, and
Oh,
everyone
that
can
is so
express themselves.
engaging. That is such a great idea.
Yeah, my
And do
guild in
people
Cooking
share?
Diary it's like a family for me. Sorry.
That is amazing. And do people share these kind of things on social media after?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Wow, that's a super engaging feature. I love it. And as the head of marketing creative, do you feel you put the players' voices at the center of your strategy? How do you gather this feedback and create strategies that cater to their needs?
Here, that's this question that I said that I will talk later. So
I
we're
was waiting
trying
for
to,
it.
we're trying to gather all the information about our players from all sources at its feedback channels that I mentioned before. We are also reading story reviews, especially right after event is out. We're also reading official and non-official communities to understand what our player needs, what engages them in the game, what they don't like, because yeah, sometimes we do make mistakes, and I will talk about that later. And yes, so the main goal is to make our players experience more fun. And we are using target audience motivations as a core for our creative strategies for each project. I take this opportunity to thank our players one more time for their ideas. They're so good, and for every feedback. We really do appreciate it.
That's important. Actually, companies today that are player, customer obsessed, I think are the ones winning the market. So I think that it's super important. First of all, you thank your players and that you truly listen to them.
Yeah.
And what role do you think the analysis of player feedback has to do in player retention?
Huge, of course, because our players are our customers, as you said, and their opinion is an order for us. So there was a case like this year. We decided to improve some hidden object locations in Sickest Notes, the old ones, because arts were really old. They look old. So we tried to improve the visuals, and we got we got we got complaints about them previously. So that's why we decided to change it.
Right.
But after receiving negative feedback from our players that they didn't like a new location, we got everything back.
Wow, that's crazy. First of all, like, why were they negative feedback if they were already thinking about like the fact that they wanted these visuals to change? Maybe they were used to it already.
Yeah, I think that location was my favorite as well. So I was with the players who was complaining, why did you change? It was really good. Yeah.
Wow, that's insane. And now you're back to the old version because players wanted that one, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing that you truly listen to your players. So, and with that, that leads to our last question of the podcast. And if there would be a dream insight you could get from your players, what would it be?
That's really interesting question. Well, I think it would be like a first impression of the game, like Sikis Notes or Cooking Diary, the first one, and what made our players to stay and play. Like, because we have players who play our game like almost from the beginning. It means 7 years for someone or
And
four
they're
years
still
for
loyal
someone.
to the game.
Yeah, and I wanted to meet them and ask them
You
what
should.
maybe they remember the first day in Cooking Diary and first day in Sickest Notes. It will be really exciting to know.
Actually, that's amazing, and that, I think that's where qualitative data comes in, and it tells you the why behind the what, the numbers of why people stay there for 7 years and still love to play it, and the importance of the feedback, which is amazing. So it was a really perfect ending to this episode. And I want to thank you so much, Olga, for taking the time to participate in today's podcast. It was super interesting to learn about your take on the importance of player feedback and how to utilize it in the field of marketing in the games industry.
Thank you so much for having me again. And also, I'll be speaking on Gamescom Asia in Singapore here in on October 21. If someone will be there, please find me. Let's talk.
That's awesome. We wish you a lot of luck at Gamescom, and we hope to meet you in person one day also at an event.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olga. And that's it for today. Let's Talk Customer Feedback is a podcast made for player insights professionals, player feedback enthusiasts, gaming industry experts, and anything in between. The podcast is created by Afogata, the AI-driven player feedback analytics platform that cuts through the noise and brings you the player insights that move the needle. In each episode, we have a special guest from the industry, including Afogata's own customers that share their knowledge on what player feedback and the voice of the customer means for them and the companies they work at. Follow Let's Talk Customer Feedback on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. If you'd like to know more about Afogata and what it does, go to afogata.com and get more info on our social media, searching for Afogata on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. See you next time. Don't keep your players waiting.